trousers, pants, aubergine. Dude, that's an eggplant. Jumper. That's a sweater. Yeah, you might find a problem like that among English speakers. What's the problem anyway? It's about their English. One speaks British English and the other one speaks American English. Wait, there are different English? Well, not really. Most English are the same, only some of the words are different than the others. Hi, my name is Hamdani and I'm going to run you a glimpse through some differences between American and British English. First of all, we have to know the history of what caused the differences. In the 16th century, the British introduced English to Americans when they arrived at these lands by sea. At the time, spelling was not standardized just yet. In the UK, this dictionary was compiled by scholars based in London. At the same time, in the United States, the lexicographer is a man named Noah Webster. He allegedly changed the spelling of words that the American version was different from the British version. Why did he do that? Well, he kinda just wanted to show how his culture was independent from his home country. In terms of language, the difference between American English and British English actually occurred after the first settlers from Britain arrived in the United States. These people used the rhotic voice to speak. What is rhotic voice? Rhotic voice is when you pronounce the R sound of the word with more stress, like I do. So, what are the differences? There are spelling, vocabulary, and grammar differences. Let's talk about the first one. Spelling. There are hundreds of subtle differences between British English and American English. For this, you can thank the American lexicographer, as we previously mentioned, Noah Webster. You might recognize Webster's name from a dictionary with the same name. The writer, politician, and teacher Noah Webster began to work hard to reform English spelling in the late 1700s. He was frustrated by the inconsistency of spelling. Webster wanted to spell the word the way it was pronounced. The spelling reform is also a way for the United States to demonstrate its independence from the United Kingdom. You can see Webster's legacy in the American spelling of words versus the original British one, like color from color, labor from labor, and favorite. He removed the letter U from these words to match the spelling and pronunciation. Next is vocabulary. American and British also have some different words. Many students are confused about the word differences between American English and British English. Generally speaking, despite the many differences, most Americans do understand British English speakers and vice versa. However, as your English level gets higher and higher, it becomes more important to decide which form of English you prefer. Once you have decided, try to stick to one form or another in all aspects, including pronunciation differences, general American pronunciation, or accepted pronunciation. This consistency is the key to clear English communication. Here are some examples that may clear it out for you. Flat, apartment, lorry, trunk, holiday, vacation, crisps, chips, fries. Different, right? Next one is grammar. In addition to spelling and vocabulary, there are also certain differences in grammar between British English and American English. The British are more likely to use formal language such as shall, while Americans prefer to use the more informal will or should. In British English, at is a preposition related to time and place. However, in American English, on is used instead of the former and in is used instead of the latter. Speakers of American English generally use the present perfect tense like have or has plus past participle, lesser than British English speakers. In spoken American English, it is very common to use the simple past tense as an alternative in situation where the present perfect would usually have been used in British English. Here are some examples for the differences. In sentences that talk about the past action that has an effect in the present. Jenny feels ill. She ate too much. Jenny feels ill. She's eaten too much. See the differences? Next is auxiliary verbs. Another grammar difference between British and American English relates to auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs, also known as helping verbs, are verbs that help from a grammatical function. They help the main verb by adding information about time, modality, and voice. Let's look at the some auxiliary verb shall. Brits sometimes use shall to express the future. For example, like, I shall go home now. Americans know what shall means, but rarely use it in conversation. It seems very formal, you know? American would probably use I will go home now. In question form, a Brit might say, shall we go now? While American would probably say, should we go now? When Americans want to express lack of obligation, they use the helping verb do with negative not followed by need. Like, you do not need to come to work today. Brits probably would say, you needn't come to work today. In British English, needn't is often used instead of don't need to. And the last one is past tense verb. You will also find some small differences with past forms of irregular verbs. The past tense of learn in American English is learned with ed. British English has the option of learned with ed or learned with t. The same rule applies to dreamed and dreamt, burnt and burnt, leaned and leaned. Americans tend to use the ed ending, Brits tend to use the t ending. People in both countries can easily understand both ways, although Brits tend to think the American way is incorrect. An important point to make is that different doesn't mean wrong. If someone says, American English is better than British English, or American is easier to understand than British English, it just has no solid basis other than speaker's opinion. The truth is, no language or regional variety of language is better or worse than the other. They're just different. People will often have very firm beliefs on which English they think is better, clearer, or easier to understand. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you understand what I've been telling you, and I hope these explain a lot about the differences between British and American English. Thank you so much. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.